Greetings, my people. Greetings, my people. It's been a while, but it's still the same. I greet you in the words of BB for Hodie, which is means African liberation. So it's African liberation for Africans, and that's it. So it's been a while since I've done a live or came to you with the live. So I guess I'll come back. And what sparked this was this movie that's on Netflix called Cuties. And so over the last couple of days, I've been seeing like memes of our people breaking it down. Some people had excellent interpretations and breakdowns, and some people just automatically saw the trailer and they were turned off. So in my breakdown, I want to just do small, nothing major. Um, I don't have any books today, but I will name a couple that you can read to understand some of the things I'll say. So one of the things I kept hearing was, is pedophilic. Well, one thing about Netflix, that's an issue with me, is Netflix continuously push um, pedophilic undertones in their movies. They continue to push these interracial relationship narratives. So certain things we do know that Netflix is notorious for. So showing pedophilic footage is not anything out of the norm. Um, a movie that I picked up on that was just a small scene, but it was in the movie that was on Netflix called Coffee and Kareem with this European pig that was sleeping with Taraji Henson, and he was quote unquote babysitting or looking after her son. And there's a strip club scene, and it's very inappropriate for that. See, that's one thing we have to do as fathers. That's one thing we have to stop with these double standards. We have these double standards and say, "Oh, well, since a sister, a girl is doing it, it's this way. But if a boy is doing it, it's this way." No, we have to understand that pedophilia is pedophilia. Because I would always say, okay, let's switch the roles. And it has a girl in a male strip club, and she's making suggestive or sexual gestures toward this male stripper, and he's reciprocating it. Um, it would be a lot of backlash. So we got to stop looking at males. We got to stop looking at this stuff as cool or this is what dudes do. No, that's not what we do. We don't over sexualize our boys. And some things we don't, that's something we don't talk about. We don't talk about the over sexualization of our young boys. The pressure that you go through to be sexually active at a young age. The saying that if you don't do this or have sex by this age, that you're this and that. So, we have to understand that it's wrong on both sides, whether it's an older woman sleeping with a young boy or or an older man sleeping with a young girl. Adolescence is adolescence. Youth is youth. So we also have to understand that pedophilia is not an African culture. Pedophilia is not an African culture. I'll say that again. Now, now you can make the case that after foreign invasion, yeah, you can make the case of some of these things. But before the coming of the Arabs, for the coming of Asians, for the coming of Europeans, you saw nothing like this. Because when we're centered, we're child centered. So we have to understand that there are certain things that the true African man, I'm not talking about somebody just because they live on the continent or because they claim African thought on the diaspora. I'm talking about when you really understand who you are as an African and this way to think and how we're supposed to protect our children. So one thing about this cuties that I saw, and we got to stop letting our children play with everybody. So number one, the one thing I saw was this is a young 11, 12-year-old girl. So we have to understand, and we have to enter this with a real understanding of what it was like when we was 11 and 12-year-old. Now, I was one of those little boys, being 12 years old, I always knew I liked girls. At the youngest age, I always knew I had an attraction and I really liked girls at a young age. So we have to understand that some things are just, it's child's nature to girls to be attracted to boys, boys to be attracted to girls. These are natural feelings. Um, no two girls shouldn't be together. No two boys should not be together. I'm here to make that clear. We don't accept that. That's not acceptable. We can't make it. So we have to understand that pedophilia, much like homosexuality, is a Greco-Roman origin. So some of the things you want to check, like I said, I'll give you some history. I'm not going to just give you a bunch of conjecture. I'm not going to give you a bunch of my opinions and say, oh, this is my opinion and this is what it is. No, if you read Plato's Symposium, if you read K.J. Dover's Greek homosexuality or homosexuality in Greek, you see these behaviors. And something that you see and you read these books, they'll say that they got a lot of stuff from African culture. They'll say how superior, if you read European literature, they'll say how superior we are as Africans. But one thing I've never read them say or saw them say or read was them say they encountered us and we were homosexuals before they had already invaded us. You can't find it. So we have to understand they're mythological. A lot of times you can tell about a person's mythos. You can tell by a culture and their mythos. You can tell by their paintings. You can tell by their mythological gods. So one of their mythological gods is Zeus. So we have to understand that when we're dealing with a person's culture, we're dealing with their myth, and they are synonymous. So if we understand about Zeus, we have to understand his male boy lover, Ganymede. So when we're talking about pedophilia, we can't instantly, as Black people or African people, think that this was our way of thinking. You have to go back and do Sankofa. Go back and fetch what's yours, and then come to the proper conclusion. So, okay, and getting down to the breakdown of this movie, I saw a little girl not being a little girl. I saw a little girl doing motherly duties. Now, I agree that our children should learn roles and how to be, boys should learn how to be men. Girls should learn how to be women. They should learn how to deal with babies. They should learn how to cook. They should learn how to sew. They should be prepped to be homemakers. Boys should be taught to deal with babies. Boys should be taught how to be homemakers and providers. They have to learn these things, but they still have to be children. We can't put our responsibilities off on our children. So in this movie, I saw a broken African home. I saw a father not present. Now, we can break down European homes, but we're not here to talk about them. All their fathers could not be there, and I wouldn't care. But we have to deal with why it's important that we're in our sons and daughters' lives, especially our daughters. So I saw a young girl who didn't have a father in this setting of what they showed us, who didn't have a father to show her these ways, who had a mother that was too busy making a way. We had a father that was off in Senegal trying to find another wife while his current wife he has is going through stuff. So y'all have to, we got to grow up. We got to grow up in our way of thinking. We just can't say, oh, I'm ready for a polygamous marriage. And a lot of times what we do, we say, well, it was in Africa. We want to use Africa when it's for our convenience. We want to grab African culture when we want to do something and pass it off as cultural. Pretty much like when we talk about women wearing blonde hair and blue contacts. Then you have a lot of scatterbrains that'll try to show you pictures of Africans that actually are born with blonde hair and blue eyes. And they say, well, see. But the thing of it, how common is it? Do you how many blue-eyed, blonde-haired children have you birthed as two black parents? So we had to stop with this grabbing stuff when it's for our convenience. We ought to understand, fellas, that if we ain't taking care of home with one, why you need another wife? You gotta check your egos. We gotta check your ego. If you can't properly take care of one wife and family, why in the hell are you somewhere trying to get another one? So I saw this little girl not having a tight family structure. Remember, we deal with Maya. So we deal with balance. You have to be in your daughter's life and tell her what type of, a lot of times our girls didn't have that template. They might have had their fathers around, but he didn't give an accurate way of what type of guys she should deal with. A lot of times we say, my daughter ain't dating until she's 25. That's not realistic. Stop with that. She ain't dating until I'm dead, all this overprotective. No, if you teach your daughter, what's that Bible saying? If you train a child up in the way they won't depart. So if you teach your daughter what to look for, you teach your daughter to break somebody's finger if he's touching her inappropriate. If you teach your daughter something other than she's pretty, tell her how strong she is. Tell her how brave she is. Let her know the value. Not only let her know through your words of what type of man to choose, let her know through your actions. We got to show them nurturing mothers. So, okay, we automatically know that this is taking place, this movie taking place in Africa. So once you're split and once you don't have the father, you got the father off Gallivant and you got an unhappy mother. We know we ain't dealing in Maya anyway. We've gotten away from Maya. We've gotten away from balance. We got to constantly be like this. We're not going to stay like this. But those scales have to always be like that. So I saw a little girl who was also searching for beauty. Now, we got to dig. We always say, well, it's not the celebrity's job to be a role model. But Tupac Shakur was my role model. He influenced me whether I wanted it or not. We have to understand that whether Cardi B influences our daughters. Kim Kardashian, there was a scene where the little girl was saying, not the little black girl, I think it was one of the little European girls that was saying, Kim Kardashian is my mom. These are their idols. So when you look to your idols, you emulate their behavior. We saw a lot of the little girl being called a whore. Well, look who, she's looking up to, and not that one. But you do with your friends, so they're looking to whores. That wasn't nothing but whore culture. Pretty much like when the drug dealing came out, they influenced all of us to be drug dealers. Street niggas, real niggas. I don't give a fuck, I'll kill a nigga. But when a pig pull up on you or a pig beating somebody in front of you, you got smacked right then. So we have to understand this thing psychologically of how it's being dealt with. I saw a little girl who she was searching for beauty in many different ways. She was searching for beauty. So this is why we have to have our children to play with your own. I don't care. You can't tell me I'm ignorant for telling my children to stay with your own. No, I don't want my children playing with little Mexican children. No, I don't want my children playing with little Europeans. Because if they're not culturally sound, they start to do what everybody else do in their culture. We got to understand this. So I also saw at no time did I see her have a conversation with her father. We got to do this, fellas. At no time did I see a man telling her her worth. It's a movie, but it's truth to these behaviors. How many little girls growing up, because we have the mothers and the fathers listening to the music now. So how many little girls riding around with their mothers listening to K. Michelle, Cardi B, Meg Thee Stallion, Beyonce. How many of them we had watching Nene Leakes, Kim Kardashian, Candy Burris? Now, all those names I named, name me, tell me, or envision in your mind the type of message that they teach. Don't give me the good deed that they do. Do they teach peace or do they teach brawling? Do they teach our girls to fight? Do they teach our girls to fight for this imaginary top spot? Oh, Nicki and Cardi going at it. And that's why I like Miss Monique. She said, she broke it down. A lot of people judge Monique. Hey, we ain't all going to agree with everything. But Monique said she was telling somebody, I forgot who she said she was telling when they were saying going for the top spot. She said these Europeans have you, and I'm paraphrasing, but she said these Europeans have you fighting for an imaginary top spot. What top spot? They don't run the industry. Beyonce is still a puppet. Yes, she do have $1 million billion, but that is a controlled $1 million billion. But guess what she encourages little girls to do? Not grow up. She damn near 40, still dancing around in leotards. Where's the evolution? If we want the black men to grow up, we need our sisters to grow up. If we want them to pull their pants up, put your legs down. Now, that don't mean a brother don't want a sister that's sexual. Because by all means, I love my sisters and their sexuality. But we got to be tasteful. So I saw her looking through all kind of images to find her identity. She didn't have friends. So the little girls she did see playing, they were, as they say, fast. She wanted friends. It looked like they're having fun. And if you look at the movie, they're doing child things. So my solution before I get out of here, what should be the consequence? Since we're mad at Netflix, what should be the consequence? Nobody wanted to get behind Miss Monique when she was saying, what Netflix do. So what should be the conflict? I mean, what should be the consequence for everybody that's upset? We got to stop just giving out just what should be the solution. Break down the movie. Anybody that watch the movie and comment to me. Tell me what you thought. Tell me, how do you think Nicki Minaj influenced? Because she's kind of past tense. She kind of almost out the door washed up. How do you think Nicki Minaj, when she had her turn with the youth, how do you think she influenced them? What do you think she had 11-year-old girls doing that wasn't filmed for a movie? I remember, I think her name was Kelly Mayhew. I could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure I'm right. And look it up. I think she was in New York. And this is the time Nicki Minaj is at her height. And I'm not saying Nicki Minaj, but you connect the dots after I make this message. She wanted a bigger butt. So she went to have in a basement. Hey, you get it how you get it at sometime. We know we done all met somebody and got something for the low. Now, whether it would have been a butt injection, But anyway, this sister died. This sister died trying to get a bigger butt. Because when Nicki Minaj pretty much like, and we can't sit up and act like us as grown women don't be influenced. How do I know? Because when Rihanna, I think she was the one, if somebody have a different answer, correct me. But I think it was Rihanna who started to wear the shirts with the areola shown. Then we started seeing others wearing their shirts with their areola shown. When Cassie shaved off the side of her head, we had a bunch of other females to influence shaving off their head. So when Nicki Minaj, that ain't Nicki Minaj real butt, keep it real. When she came with her plastic butt, this became the standard for our women. So let's not act like, oh, the parents have to be, so we all being influenced. Does Future not influence black males to stay at an ignorant perpetual cycle? Answer in the comments with how you feel. We got to start thinking. We got to start doing critical analysis. Now, I say judge. I'm not going to say stop judging, but we have to be accurate in what we're judging. Judge all of that. But we got to stand together, and it has to be a consequence. We can't just judge without nothing. So Jay-Z influenced drug culture. But it seems like when they put that suit and tie on, we kind of forget that Jeezy influenced drug culture. He didn't start it, but he pushed it. T.I. didn't start it, but he pushed it. Did he not influence black males to do the same thing? So I guess my overall analysis, what I'm saying is, we have to understand the influence. We got to get in our daughters' lives. We got to get in our sons' lives. And that's not saying we don't go through ups and downs as parents. Nobody is a perfect parent. But we have to think of what happens in our absence. When there's no father in the home, there's no strong man present. How can she know a strong man? How can she know what to go get if you never saw it? How can I know to be something that I never saw? So that's my spiel. I appreciate you. Drop those comments. Let me know how you feel. Drop those likes. Share this video. I'm still learning stuff. I'm not a person that gets on here a lot, obviously, but I said I'll do better. But I leave you in how I greeted you in the African words for my African listeners, a BB for Hodier. For my European listeners, peace.